There it is. Hi, everybody. So we're giving this a few minutes to see if a few more people are joining us. People are jumping on now, we can see. So we'll take care of some housekeeping to start. If you have any questions throughout this, please put them in the Q&A section, not the chat. You can use the chat, but use the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen if you have any questions you want us to get to at the end. And a good reminder for Tamio teammates are open. So if you're interested in applying for that, check your emails. There's been some emails sent about Tamio teammates. And other than that, I think we have a lot of people on already. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to our webinar today about PEG channels. I'm Kelly Lewis. I'm the Director of Marketing for the City of Carrollton. And we have a great group of panelists for you today. Everybody's ready to talk about their PEG channel. So I'm going to mention everybody and then I'll kick it off to y'all to say a little bit about who you are and what you're bringing to the table today. So we've got Dustin Dangley, Communications and Public Affairs Manager for the City of Mansfield. We have Xochitl Mora from McAllen, Director of Communications for the City of McAllen. Ted Irving, the Director of HTV for the City of Houston. And we have Bobby Lehrman, Assistant Director of Public Communications, City of College Station. So we are ready to talk about some PEG stuff. How about, I'm going to go in order of my screen. How about Bobby? Why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, hi, everyone. I'm over here in College Station. So relatively new to College Station. I was previously working for a smaller city, City of Navasota before, but I've been here for just over a year now. We do have a pretty nice PEG fund, which we have just rebuilt our city hall. So we use some of those funds to actually help redo our council chambers. And so we have a really, really nice studio now in our department. So we have more opportunity to do more creative things, create more creative videos. But I wouldn't say that we're experts per se, but we do have some insights that we can offer.
That's great. Yeah, I think everybody's bringing a little bit of fun to the table today. So hopefully we can all learn a bit from each other. Next on my screen is Xochitl Mora.
Thank you, Kelly. Hi, so I'm the Director of Communications for the City of McAllen. We also do have a pretty good PEG fund that we've used to create our studio, updates to our commission chamber. And our PEG channel really drives a lot of what we do. Our department functions as both a news station and a public relations agency, so promoting obviously everything for City of McAllen, but then just trying to populate the channel with all of our obligations for meetings that we have, several meetings that we air for the City of McAllen, McAllen Public Utility, and Hidalgo County Commissioners Courts meeting, and then a lot of original content. And so just managing that so that it helps to keep the city open to our residents. And then the other portion is just protecting that PEG channel. And that's one of the things I've been doing with Tamio, but also in my role in our sister organization, which is TOTOA, and hopefully y'all are members of that, which is specifically for municipalities with PEG channels. And here in McAllen and other communities, that's that relationship with Spectrum. And so that's something that I've been kind of spearheading as well. And so that's what's really important, is that we come together and learn from each other in terms of how we manage and protect our PEG channel, and work with Spectrum or the other cable providers to ensure that they also fulfill their obligations. And so that's also what's really important for me.
Great. And then next for me is Ted Irving.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm the Director of HTV Houston Television in the Office of the Mayor. And HTV is one of 4 channels owned by the City of Houston. And as you know, PEG comes in 4 flavors, but not every city chooses to have all 4. The most dominant, of course, is all the G channels, the government channels, followed by probably the education channels, which in the City of Houston is Houston Community College TV and Houston Independent School District TV. And then there's the public access channel called Houston Media Source. And we treat that as a vendor. It's a 5-year contract every year. And any media company in the City of Houston can compete for the operation of the City of Houston Public Access Channel. And so at HTV, we're at a staff of 20. We're down to 12 since COVID. But we still are heavily engaged in a lot of social media production, of course, production for the channel. We invest in Constant Contact, Canva every year, which takes the place of the lost social media marketing positions that we had. So we're still very aggressive in working with the mayor's office of communications, where we even embed our photographers with the mayor every day, all day. And that also will include Saturdays and Sundays. So we're kind of like a news station that kind of spends a lot of time with press conferences and a lot of news that the mayor's engaged in, followed by city council and then city departments. So still a lot of intense work. It reminds me of being back in the newsroom, although not at the same level, but a couple of notches below.
Great, looking forward to some of your answers today, the questions coming up. But first we've got Dustin. You're muted, Dustin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dustin, City of Mansfield. And like a lot of y'all in some of these kind of more suburban communities, I do have a PEG channel, and I'm happy to be here.
Perfect. Let's dive into some questions then. We have a list of questions I'm going to go through. We can just see who has a great answer to it. I'm sure everyone's got something to contribute that we can all learn from. But this one is affecting everybody. In a world where cable TV subscriptions are dwindling and there are numerous options for people to get their information, how are you keeping your city's PEG channel relevant today?
Well, I know for the city of McAllen, we do have a lot of original content that we create. So that's something that we hope attracts not only our employees, but our residents and the broader RGB community. Our channel, aside from being available on Spectrum 1300, streams on our website, as well as our Mobile 311 app. So even if someone doesn't live in the city of McAllen, they can still access our channel live real time via those two options. And then all of our original content and our live meetings are posted to our City of McAllen YouTube channel. So again, we will promote that the YouTube channel is available, and we'll utilize our social media platforms to promote that original programming. So we've got a lot of great programs that highlight the city in different ways to highlight our employees and different initiatives. And so we'll drive traffic, each time to say, watch it here, whether it's on the channel originally or all the other streaming platforms where our content is available. And then, of course, we air our city commission workshops and meetings, our McAllen Public Utility workshops and meetings, and the Hidalgo County meetings. And we air those several times during the week as well, so that people can tune in if they can't watch live.
Great. I see Ted has his hand up, so I think you want to add something there.
Yeah, for HTV, what we did for the future was invest in an app. And so you can watch all of our public meetings for the city of Houston, including Harris County Commissioners Court and our Metro Board on iPhone, Android, Roku, Apple TV, Fire Stick, Chromecast, and let's see, it's on all smart TVs minus 2 brands, I believe. And so we did that because at some point, cable channels are going to fade. The value of a cable channel as a property has diminished. Used to pay millions of dollars to have a cable channel, and now it's a little, lot less. And I think it's probably in the next 10 to 15 years, we'll see sort of cable fade out and the infrastructure for cable being taken over by maybe government or some other entity. For HTV, we run on average 28 to 40 meetings per month. That's our biggest thing that we show all day, every day, is all of our meetings. We even have a high repeat value on meetings. So it was important for us to ensure that if cable were to go away tomorrow, doesn't really, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but all of the communities that we serve in Houston would still have access via the app as well as our Facebook. And we're thinking about dual streaming to YouTube here in the next couple of months.
I just had a question
go
for
ahead.
Ted, actually. It just popped up right now. What type of investment was it to look into the app? I know that we're also looking for avenues like that right now, and I'm sure many other people have this question as well. But you know, what type of money does it take to have access to an app?
Well, when we first started, we had a pretty basic app with a local vendor. You actually had to go to the vendor's app and then find us, which it was okay. It was a good start, and that was $589 a month with that vendor for that service. And that vendor worked with our engineers to ensure that we connected to them using our encoders. And now we haven't, the second contract that we increased with them ran about $4,500 a month to have a full-blown app that actually reaches the majority of your OTT set-top boxes. We even have the capability through the vendor, although I've not taken advantage of it, to have PlayStation and Xbox be able to access the meetings through the app. I'm not sure if kind of that's debatable to use it, but in a future contract, I can see cost probably around 130, I'd say to a max about $200,000 for a 2-year contract. That's what you're looking at on average. 5 years, the city of Houston is usually 5 years where you have it's a 3-year contract with 2 1-year options. I would say at 5 years, you're probably, if your city does that, I would assume just about everyone does 5-year contracts with 2-year options. You're probably looking at, $500,000.
I have a follow-up question on that, but I see that, so she has her hand raised, so.
So Bobby, I just wanted to say that for the city of McAllen, we've been working on that with another vendor, and I can, let you know who that is, and it's at a different cost, much lower, to be able to have those streaming apps as well.
My question to follow up on all of that is how much, or how do you measure the success of and the impact of your PEG channel? So some of these newer initiatives that not everyone has, especially, how are you seeing what's being effective? Are you getting the ROI for those programs?
Well, I know that if any one of those elements were down, we'll hear about it. So there's someone watching, even if it's just the one. And so because what we've tried to do is make sure that all of our different communication tools that we use, all of our resources support the other. So we're driving traffic to one or the other. So through our social media, watch our channel, watch us on Facebook, watch on YouTube, our website. And so that way we can gauge. And then it's just really, comments, whether it's comes on YouTube or social media or emails, where people will comment on any particular programming. And then of course, the big thing is if our meetings don't start on time, people are instantly calling like something's wrong, because we'll have a placeholder, for city commission meeting or city, whatever it is. And if it's not starting on time, they're immediately calling. So it's very organic, and it's just very almost, word of mouth, but there's not a tool that we have that gauges that level of the response or the audience.
Yeah, for 2022, the first year of our app, I think we had 10, and then by the end of the year, it reached 100. And the vendor's pretty good at providing all the analytics and the base KPIs for us. And then in 2023, by the end of 2023, we hit close to 1,000, and that's just the app, not including all the other data that we receive from our social media. We don't receive any data from the cable channels. To even just to obtain a coverage map was extremely difficult for me to get that, and I still don't have it. And we've not even come up with a formula just to guesstimate. We kind of take the numbers that Comcast and AT&T have, and just sort of look at the number of people over the age of 50 in all of our councils, districts, and then try to come up with a number. But it's, yeah, it's not that robust from the cable side. But the vendor in these apps are actually pretty good. They're just like social media numbers.
I see Dustin, you want to chime in?
Yeah, so we don't have that much of a budget for our channel. So what we did is in this time of data analytics, we simply put a bumper up that would run throughout the day, and it just had a screen that said, "Hey, are you watching this on our cable channel? If so, contact us for a prize." And obviously, it's not scientific at all, but it was just to help us get a baseline of who's actually watching, are people actually watching, and what information can we glean from them about the experience.
Good idea. Did people come claim their prize?
Yeah, we had a handful, and that helped tell us a little bit more about who we're actually reaching with this. It also aligned with, Jojo said there's a handful of people that will let you know as soon as it's down. And so it's kind of the same people that let us know as soon as, hey, this meeting's not broadcasting. Oh, okay, we'll get on it.
Yeah, we've had that as well. I haven't ever offered a prize before. That's a fun way to see who it is. Also to see if it matches what you think it is, because like Ted said, we also don't get our the information from the cable channel. So you have to find other ways to do it. I'm gonna jump in real quick with a question we got on the Q&A section. How do you keep PEG channels relevant on social media?
I think for us, I know we just post our original content. So we'll post the actual video. So we have several shows that we produce, and so that's what we post, and we'll post the meeting notice, like again, either attend, watch here, all the different ways to watch the meeting. So it's just again driving the traffic to all the ways that they can access that content that we provide for our channel.
I was going to add, sometimes we produce original kind of creative ways to promote on social. So one aspect that we're trying to do to keep things interesting and creative is we actually, and I spoke to Kelly about this at the 3CMA conference recently, we actually created movie marathons relevant to the holidays. So for example, Halloween is coming up, and we run a special movie marathon segment just based on Halloween movies, and it's like people can binge watch the movies on our channel. So, we just get these films from like the public domain, and we know we're going to do this for Valentine's Day and things like that. So we create like special marketing pieces, components for that around Halloween or whatever theme we're doing, and to drive people to tune in and watch those movies on the channel. So something different.
Yeah, I remember when you told me about that. I thought that was really fun. I know you have a college audience as well, being in College Station. So the A&M crowd probably is really into that. But I think a lot of different people would love something like that. Just if you're scrolling around and you're like, oh, good movie time.
Yeah, it seems to be quite successful. And I mean, our department loves Halloween. They go all out. The social media kind of skits they put on, I mean, they get dressed up and they're doing a whole bunch of different stuff. So y'all tune in. You might be able to see it coming out soon for that marketing.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out. That's great. Well, I have some other questions for you. For example, we just kind of talked about this, but do you produce original content for your channel, use others' content, or repurpose your own content from other channels?
Yeah, so we do. We have, I think, like 5 or 6 original content shows that we create. And then aside from our meetings, then we air as is of, groundbreaking or ribbon cutting ceremonies and other initiatives. So that aside from just the meeting stuff, we're filling it. We're trying to fill that time with something different all the time.
Yeah, for HTV, we have an original show called City Pulse. It's basically a show that looks at all the cool, fun initiatives from the mayor, city council members, and city departments. And so that runs twice a month. And then we have our first ever all Spanish speaking show called Nexo Latino. And it runs twice a month as well. And then we run a show that's actually been running since 1990 with Lex Frieden, who's the national guru of ADA. The entire show is about disability, or actually abilities, called Focus on Abilities. We have two others that are a little iffy. They kind of come and go. City departments, no matter how much I talk to all of the directors and supervisors, tell them, hey, TV, video, media, whether it's social media or on TV, if you just do one a quarter, you will never build an audience. And at a minimum, twice a month, ideally once a week. And that's extremely difficult to get them to do that. So I have a few shows that we don't see. We may produce 3 or 4 a year. But yeah, that's all my staff actually would have time for, because all of our live meetings, you know, those are pretty popular, especially with all the politics and the fireworks.
For us, I think to manage to keep the ROI ratio balanced, we're really just taking our content that we use on social, use for web, and feeding it into our PEG channel. We have a YouTube playlist that just runs off of it. And for us, we assume that there are different audiences, so you're not going to get too much overlap or people complain it's the same thing. I mean, who doesn't mind a rerun, right?
We're very similar. We create some programming specifically for our channel, and then obviously we multi-purpose across our channels as well. So
Well, have any of you found any success with making content bingeable? I mean, should, you know, Netflix be worried? Any of you going to take them down with your, it sounds like, you know, Bobby, y'all found some ways to do that, but anything else you're doing?
I don't know if we can compete with Netflix. But you know, I think like most of us out there in our industry, we're trying to think of some creative ways, and I mean, we found success in this component, and of course, I mean, who does it better than the US with holidays? So we can always tap into those gimmicks to try and provide entertainment.
I mean, I think we recognize that obviously we're not going to compete with either any of the streaming platforms or even just network TV, but our channel serves as a way to just make our city government relevant to our audience, our residents. And here in McAllen, we're in this large metroplex area. So even, you know, just throughout the Rio Grande Valley, to better understand their government. And so it's just utilizing all the different ways that they can access our content is just a way to showcase our city, other than, you know, the complaints, or just that we just, you know, pick up trash and, you know, provide water and streets and fire and PD. I mean, there's more to city government. And so that's what we're trying to utilize our channel to make that accessible, so that when they have 5 minutes, they can watch one of these little shows and just learn a little bit more about their city government.
Yeah, we're a little more, I don't know, I hate to say the word, it's not really boring, but I mean, we really follow
Not boring, Ted,
our,
at all.
yeah, we really follow our legal guidance. And so because we have all 4 of the channels, anything dealing with movies or entertainment, we've had one of those, but it has to be tied into the government. So for example, we had the local, I forgot the group, it's they critique, you know, movies, and they write articles about it, and they had a show with us. And so we have 2 options. One, we can create an MOU through the legal department that sort of helps to make that show, quote unquote, a government program. And then the mayor's office will put their stamp on it. And then we require that there be at least one segment in the show that has something to do with movies, entertainment, and the government. Or I can get a letter from a city department that will endorse that program. So for example, our mayor's office of cultural affairs has endorsed concerts. So we've had local concerts by local community artists that runs on our channel. But because I have a legal document, a letter from a city department that endorses it, we then consider it a government program. Otherwise, I usually guide people to the public access channel, because if they want to engage in movies, entertainment, and gaming, the public access channel is the open content channel. Whereas for us, we're like the local C-SPAN. So we try to stay within our lane. Otherwise, legally, we're not considered a G channel anymore. We'd be considered an access channel, which would be problematic. You can't have 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Ted's inadvertently answering a question that came in for us, which is how does entertainment movies fit into the intent of PEG? So do any of the rest of you run into that? We do as well. I know some cities' legal teams interpret it differently than others. We have a pretty conservative interpretation in the city of Carrollton. But what do y'all find for that?
I hadn't explored that until this, being invited to be on this webinar, and then Bobby, you had mentioned that. I was like, oh, what a great idea. And so I pitched it to, we just had our new city manager start, and he was our former city attorney, and his reaction was more just like, eh. So it wasn't any from a legal perspective, just like he just didn't find a need. He didn't think it was worth it. So that was just the reaction. So I haven't explored it a little further. I mean, I'm trying to make it fun. I like that idea that you had about, the introduction and everything. And I think, again, it's just, again, another way so that our audience, our residents can recognize that all of these tools that are available, whether it's our communication tools or anything, any other of the services that the city of McAllen provides, is just to give them a better quality of life. And that's what the city government, one of our goals is.
I-
Well, we had,
I-
go ahead.
I was gonna add, I think we use that tool to try and drive people to use the channel to learn more about the government. So obviously it's not just movies run back to back to back to back. There's like commercial breaks through it where the educational pieces run throughout it, which is kind of how we segue around that. And then obviously there are live stream, like not live streamings, I guess reruns about council meetings, P&Zs that break up the marathon. So we use it as a tool to drive people to tune in, to use this as a source to learn more about the government, and then this fun aspect is kind of like a side note.
We do something similar, and to answer a little bit of the entertainment movies part for us, we're more like what Ted was saying. We have to be very careful about that, but we do a lot of things at the city that have the entertainment value. So if we have a festival, we can do a recording of the music at that festival, which is a form of entertainment, not a movie necessarily, but it's a way around it for us that still gets people interested in what was happening in the community. But that leads me to a question that I think people will find, everybody does it a little bit differently, but do you use any particular software for managing your content and how you handle the text portion, such as bumpers, chyrons, the important notices that have to go out mixed in with things like the more entertainment value?
We use Cablecast for our programming, and then we use either Premiere or Storyblocks for any text or pages or any informational graphics that we need.
Yeah, we use BrightSign. Our staff loves it. It's pretty easy. But again, our bumpers are super simple. And so we haven't had any issues yet.
Yeah, we are a Ross house, but the backbone for going out to stream broadcast is a Castus system. All of the bumps and the lower thirds and everything. And then our editing system for us, all offices are DaVinci Resolve, and all of our MacBooks are Final Cut and DaVinci. And the backbone of our edit system is an Edit Share. So all edit systems are networked, and editors can pull each other's projects from room to room, yada, 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 all the cool stuff that comes with, video editing network systems, which our IT hates.
Oh, we actually use a company called Leaguetron to schedule, but we're actually in the market and in the process for new vendors. So I'm taking notes right now. It's really outdated. So that's on our list to do in this new financial year. But in terms of, the bumpers and things like that, that's all done in-house. And, we just, manage that through our Adobe suite with our designers and our team, and we just make sure it's clear, concise, and visually appealing with our brand.
I think it's really interesting that we all use somebody different. We use Scala at the city of Carrollton. So I think officially all of us have a different company that we're working with. This really just shows you that there's a lot of competition out there.
Yeah, I real quick on that, Bobby, I'd recommend, well, for everybody on here, Evertz, we've seen their gear and equipment. Our engineers love Evertz. They're competitor to Ross. They have some incredible, great hardware.
So anybody who's looking for a new company right now or something to work on their PEG channel, I think we just gave you about 6 or 7 different options for you to explore. I'm sure they all have different strengths and weaknesses, but we have a question pop in I'm going to throw out here. How do you deal with controversy? I guess, for example, streamed meeting, is it something you should be transparent about?
For the city of McAllen, a few years ago, even before I started, I've been here now 8 years, there was already a decision that public comments would not be aired on the channel. So in the past few years, I think there's some legislation. And so what we do is we have our city workshop meeting. It'll adjourn. And if someone has signed up for public comments, it's in between the end of workshop and the start of the city commission. The commission will stay in place as will the mayor and city attorneys, but that's not aired. And so once those public comments are done, then we'll start the meeting. And we've had a couple of instances where people will try to sneak around. So if they sign up for a public hearing on a specific agenda item, then those comments are aired. And so sometimes they'll do that and say it's for, agenda item A1 or whatever. And then they start on their other rants. And so we just kill the audio. We'll just kill the audio. We keep the meeting, streaming and airing, but we'll just kill the audio to the channel. Obviously in the room, their proximity, the commissioners can hear them speaking, but the audio is killed also in the room, so their mic is not on. And so that's how we handle that.
Ed, jump in. Ed, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, so the live broadcasts and streams for us, everything is recorded and shown. So if someone's cursing out a representative, it doesn't matter. It's all shown. Public comments are broadcast live. Social media, if people are making weird to threatening to vulgar comments, it is to be left by our legal department, because if it gets too bad and they're making multiple, we are allowed to hide just their comments, but it's all legal data and information, so that if there's an investigation, they can pull that information and have it. So for example, just like all of you, I believe we have Swagit, the archive. Our archive is 17 years of meetings. 2 occasions since I've been here, we've had the FBI use our archive system, and they pull those old meetings because they want to see what a representative has said or someone who came to a meeting said. So for us, it's all open unless it's really extreme. And I think in a live meeting, obviously, if we had someone, let's say, for example, get in a physical altercation, we'd put a slate up. But the in-house cameras, the clean feed we're recording, we would still have the actual fight. We just wouldn't send it out to the public.
Yeah, we're the same as Ted. Everything, we're very transparent over here. Everything stays. I think if we're doing a rerun and let's say in public comment someone drop an F-bomb, we will just edit a bleep over it when we're rerunning it.
Yeah, we've had similar, we're closer to Ted's with a tiny bit of the others. We've had to cut the audio before, but it was with a frequent flyer who had come and was frequently using inappropriate language. So we knew to be ready to cut it. Unfortunately, it was still in person for all of the Boy Scouts that were there that night to do the pledge. So that was fun. But the audio didn't run later, or we've done something where we were able to bleep it, or something that finds that balance. But our legal team is really who we look to for that. And it comes down to what they're okay with, I think, is the answer for everybody listening, that you have to check in with your legal team on that, because they do interpret it slightly differently, but you can get into real trouble if you don't follow what their interpretation of that is. and speaking of legal, I don't know if I know the answer to this one. I'm gonna throw out one that we got in the questions. Said I know of a city that has no PEG channel. Charter knows they have no PEG channel, yet they continue to remit PEG funds. Right now, they have a huge account, but no channel. Any idea what they can legally do with that account? You can do, I mean, with no PEG channel, I don't know that you can do things like create studio and something for that, but if you're not playing it on the PEG channel, our legal team would not be okay with that, but that's kind of back to what you can defend. And I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the answer to that, but I don't know if any of you have any experience with that in your cities.
No, we don't. I know that there's a city near us who, I don't know if they were collecting funds, but their channel, they just weren't producing anything. So they were getting ready to, to lose it. I think Spectrum was just going to let it go black. So, yeah, I don't know what you could do with that. That's definitely a legal issue. But if that, and I don't, yeah, no, I don't even want to touch that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
feel the
those
same.
funds can't be used for anything else. I mean, if they're saving it in order to build, I guess, but yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. That's an interesting one. I wouldn't know where to go with that one, but it does seem tricky. So speaking of like PEG revenue though, I think most people are seeing shrinking PEG funds. So I'm curious what all of y'all are doing to look to the future of that fund. I mean, we've obviously found ways to work around the decreasing audience of just the channels, but what about the funds portion?
Yeah, that's a big one for us. We are probably 2 weeks away from approval on hiring a contract fundraiser to generate revenue for us. We already have legal clearance to generate naming rights, sponsorships for our shows. And so we're just now looking for a fundraiser to generate large dollar amounts. The most important for me is really the naming rights that can hopefully secure us monies, because we're actually inside of our city hall. I mean, I know some of you all are, it's a cool thing here in Houston. We're on the first floor, so we've got a little bit of power with that as far as our administration believes. Looks like we may have the possibility of securing large companies who may want to put their name. Now there's some ethics and morals, but our legal office has laid out the entire process for that and how we go about doing it. We also have a 501c3, which we created in 2019, which an ordinance in the city of Houston allows city departments to engage in the use of a 501c3. They don't like a lot of them. So we got kind of lucky on that. And so we use that to provide production services externally to anyone, as well as rent our studios so that we can generate revenue. And so on average, we generate about, it's not a lot, but 30, the max is about $35,000. So anywhere between $25,000 and $35,000 a year, we generate production service revenue for the 501c3. I think it's real important at some point we will probably see, as what we experienced here in Houston with a council member who wanted us to sell commercial advertising, because the state of California allows PEG channels to compete with the private sector and go out and seek commercial advertising. I think that's coming down the pipe. That'll come back to Houston. I don't have a problem with it. But for us, in order to sell, I need at least 2 full-time sales reps and a part-time, not including vehicles and laptops and everything they're going to need, as well as money to take people out for lunches and all that kind of stuff. We get tricky with cards, P cards for the government and buying food. So there's a lot into it, but you got to spend money to make money. And so I don't know if I dread it, but I welcome it. At the same time, I think that could be coming down the pipe.
Is really interesting. Do any of the rest of you rent out space or commercial service type?
No,
We do not.
yeah, we do not. Yeah, I don't even know. I know that that's something we need to think about. Obviously, is cable subscriptions probably continue to decline, but I think that's the opportunity for organizations such as Tamio and Tatoa to bring our cable providers to the table. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do with Spectrum, and we don't have the other cable providers, but I think, you know, it's time to kind of revisit that franchise agreement, I think, because it was written at a time where technology was vastly different. I mean, it was a literal cable to get your TV subscription. And so I think maybe it's revisiting that to see how they are going to change their business model and how they are going to honor their requirements under that law. And so I think that's what we need to kind of figure out, is how do we make that happen so that, I mean, obviously they're a business and I'm not going to, you know, that they're not going to give away their service. But that law was created to help governments, local governments, state governments, county governments be open to their communities. So there has to be that, you know, let's revisit this, let's come to the table, let's figure this out so that we can continue doing that for our communities.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna have to be a lot of conversations coming up as those funds continue to dwindle. I think in the meantime, we're all finding ways to just make it work for our cities. And some of that has to do with finding ways to get more interest in the programming. So that ties in well with a question we received that is, how have y'all had success streaming live meetings and events on Facebook, YouTube, or other social media? And I think we touched a little bit, but if anybody has anything to add about if you're streaming your council meetings.
We do stream our meetings live as well on YouTube. So all of our workshops and for both the City Commission and McAllen Public Utility, and not on Facebook, only because we can disable the comments on YouTube and not on Facebook, again, for those reasons. And just because we know then that council members especially, you know, will see the comments, but we are busy running the meeting at that moment. We can't respond. And so it's just easier to let it be like, if you want to watch, you can watch. If you want to comment, then you need to come into city commission meetings, sign up for a public comment. Otherwise, here's just, you can watch the meeting. But and for that reason, and that's why, so you can watch it again on just all of our streaming platforms, but you can't comment.
Yeah, we do the exact same thing. We stream on our website, you know, on that very simple media player, but we haven't ventured into opening it to those social spaces where the expectation is that you can comment and interact. And so that's just something we haven't had the manpower or just the desire to, because of the doors that open and the fact that we already offer it online for people through the website.
Yeah, we stream as well to Facebook, but it's a little more complicated for us. We actually have some pretty good tools. We actually have a live view. We're part of the City of Houston pool feed, so all the local stations and us. And so even with meetings, what we'll do with off-site meetings like town hall meetings and other sort of we have these little mini council meetings. We have these Vimeo live stream boxes. They don't make them anymore, but they're extremely robust and powerful, as well as some Acme 4K Go boxes that we use. And each one of those boxes will take up to 5 inputs and cameras. And so we usually run a 1-person to 2-person band team. Is very streamlined. Take those boxes out to those offsite meetings, connect all the cameras, run the gaff tape, the light, everything. We don't do audio. We have another department here that handles audio. And then we'll stream from that box to our live view back to the station and then out to all of our platforms. We also just purchased, and if I can remember the name, let me rephrase that. We were given by our IT department these new, Verizon has these little boxes, right? They have one that's like this big, it's a suitcase, and they have a small one. And they're these super powered hotspots. So when we're streaming for either clients, external or city departments, and we're doing their meetings offsite at night, if we don't have the live view because we can't afford to staff it, or the client can't afford to pay for staffing it, meaning an engineer to be on staff, then what we'll do is take out those boxes, which are they're really, really good. I mean, even if you have a lot of cell phones in use, those boxes are excellent. We have 0 hiccups, and we can stream meetings directly to Facebook, YouTube, StreamYard, whatever, you know, particular client wants. So we do a lot of streaming.
Anybody else do anything different?
We're the same as, not like Houston, that's for sure. I mean, talking of like council meetings, we do a different form of, we actually do a live blog of the meeting. So, that's like just another route, not to do with, streaming of like, yeah, but so like we actually have a lot of people tuning into that, and it actually even helps our local media as well to kind of fact check the story a little. It's not counted as like meeting minutes at all. We're very clear to like state that. But then obviously there's like a link and like you can watch it with the blog.
Interesting. Yeah, we don't live stream at all. We have it on the website so you can watch it, but if you want to comment, you have to come in as well. So lots of different ways to do it for sure. We got a couple of questions left. We're kind of coming toward the end. I'll leave some time for any other Q&A. And then if anybody has anything else they want to throw into the Q&A reminder, you can do that and we'll answer them as they come up. But I was going to go a little bit big picture as we're getting toward the end of our session and say, well, maybe it's actually less big picture and a little bit detailed. It depends on your answer. But how does your PEG channel fit into your overall communication strategy?
For us, it's a big part of what we do. I mean, it's equal parts, as I mentioned earlier, creating content for that, and then promoting all of that content. So we're all constantly in production mode, thinking of our next story for any one of these shows that we have, so that then we can promote it on all of our other platforms. We cover other events as well and promote other initiatives by the city, but that's a big part of what we do. And so if we're promoting an initiative that any other department is doing, then we'll try to bring them into studio for an interview or a little PSA or a show. So one is always driving the other. They work hand in hand. Everything that one does, we're going to promote it one way or another with a channel or vice versa.
Yeah, we're the same in College Station. It's a key piece of our communication puzzle, but it complements our communication efforts, like you said, and it helps us have a platform to provide more in-depth coverage for city meetings or special programming or seasonal events. So yeah, it's they all kind of like complement each other.
Yeah, I'll say for us, I'll keep it real. Our PEG channel is really the redheaded stepchild of all our communication channels. And it really leans itself that way just because of the return or the impact we believe it's having that we've heard from our residents. And so we know there's content we can pull from our other strategies to pull into the PEG, but it's never been oh, this would be perfect for the channel. Then it trickles down to the other platforms. Will that change? I don't know. I think we'll keep monitoring the numbers, but if kind of the trend in cable viewership is telling us anything, this is kind of the platform that we know we have people that only view our communications here. And so we want to take care of them, but those numbers will continue to dwindle over the years.
Yeah, we're real similar to that as well. I would say it's, we're always aware of it and we want to make sure we're taking care of the people that are watching there, but mostly we use it as a place to put the content that we've produced for something else. We repurpose that content. In fact, it's in our strategic business plan that we will utilize content from other things to make sure that we're getting as many touches on that content to get the best ROI for it. So it sounds like we're all fairly aligned in that, with some going a little bit further into it than others. But along those lines, I'm curious how much feedback or directive regarding the PEG channel do you receive from your management, city council, whoever's in charge?
Yeah, I would say a lot. Our mayor's office of communications is over us. And so constantly every day, and a lot of us come out of news, broadcast journalism here in town. So even the mayor's office of communications. So we're constantly being asked, hey, that was a good package. But before you post it or run it, can you maybe use this one shot, or can you cut it down instead of 2 minutes? Can you make it a minute? It's almost like we're still in the newsroom. So we have a lot of that feedback. Council members, out of the 16 council members, we have a good 5 that are always wanting promos cut. They're also giving feedback. They sit in on edit sessions, so they'll come in and sit in the room with the editor. So our mayor's office is really hands-on with what we do. They also comment about live streaming, and I forgot to mention too, for our mayor's office of communications, and they don't use it a lot because of manpower, but we provide them a license for their iPhones and Androids for what's called LU Smart. It's the same as it's the LiveU company's app that allows even our mayor's office of communications, if we're not at an event or at a meeting, they can set up their phone, stream live, and it broadcasts directly to our channel. And so they've taken advantage of it a few times, but we coordinate with them every single day, and it's really up and down. I mean, again, it's almost like a newsroom.
I know I meet weekly with our city manager, and so I'm always giving him a rundown of our shows, again, those and what those topics will be. Our city manager has made it really clear to our elected officials that, you know, they're not to give us, any of the city department directors, any directive in terms of what to do. So they know to go to the city manager, but sometimes, you know, they'll come to us and say, oh, can you do a show on this or whatever, as long as it fits in with everything else. So really, as long as once I get that approval or, you know, that awareness from our city manager, I mean, he's fine with, you know, what we're producing.
Yeah, I'd say mine falls in line with most of y'all, less involvement than Ted's. I think the mayor's more interested in yours than the rest of ours. I'm sure that has to do with the political nature of a bigger city as well, but ours is really only interested when there's a problem. So, which that's fair. So we're kind of wrapping up our time here. I want to give you all a chance to say any final thoughts you have, and if there's any last questions from anyone, go ahead and throw them in the Q&A or even at the chat at this point. But otherwise, any last comments from any of our panelists?
Hey, two quick ones. One, I forgot to mention, we do charge council members, so they kind of get a little. Sometimes they try to get out of it and go to the mayor and say, hey, we're doing this with you. You think they could drop the fee? So we charge everybody, whether you're internal city department or external. We even charge you to rent gear. But number two, I was going to say, if you have another one of these seminars, I would really love to see one on closed captioning and ASL, because that's a killer for us.
That is a great point. Yeah, I wish I'd thought to bring that up in this one, because we have a lot of challenges with the legal requirements of that, and also obviously wanting to make it as open for all of our citizens as possible. So finding that line with the balance of resources can be really hard. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I just like to say, I mean, obviously everybody manages their channel differently, and what works for their community is obviously best. And they know that what the needs of their residents are. However, for those communities out there that do have spectrum and might be having issues, I would certainly invite them to contact me. I'd like to hear from them, again, just because of my role in the other organization with TOTOA, and I think we can certainly do this with Tamio, is explore what we need to do to bring spectrum to the table, to make sure that they are staying compliant with that franchise agreement so that we can continue with our PEG channels.
Good point. Well, if we don't have anything else, I'm going to close with some housekeeping, a reminder so that Megan, who's on this call, doesn't get mad at me, that Tamio teammates are open. If you're interested, I believe there is one for things like this. Oh, sorry, we did have a question come in real quick. What are the spectrum problems? So I don't know if you want to touch on that real quick.
That's another webinar. I know it's different in each community, and that's what we're finding. And so I think that's why I'd like to hear from each community and see what's happening with them, because it is very different. You know, within the organization of TOTOA, there's, you know, it's different in each community. And so that's what I'm trying to do is that we can have that uniformity of spectrum treating the channels the same and working with us the same. So I would love to talk to them, I think, separately, offline, and we can explore that.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, we had April join in, say that she agreed they're being strong-armed into going HD. So I know that there's a lot of challenges for different cities out there. They want to get rid of underperforming things, and unfortunately that comes at a cost to government because of the PEG funds. So it means more to us than it does to the cable companies for sure. So if you have anything like that and you want to reach out, feel free to, yeah, in Plano as well. Feel free to send any of us message. We'll get it to you and get it to the right people, or keep the conversation going. If there's another chance for a webinar, we'll let Josh and the team know if there's any interest in that. But otherwise, I want to thank all of our attendees for coming today and our panelists for offering your expertise to everybody, and just let everybody know that we're here to answer any questions. Obviously, Tamio is a great resource for all of us that are trying to figure out what the next thing to do with our PEG channel is. So thanks everybody for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Kelly, for organizing the panel.
Of
Yes, thank
course,
you.
of course. It was great seeing
Thank you.
everybody today. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Have a good